The following is a special video presentation of the Hennepin County Library.
Hello, I'm Eileen Kavanaugh. I'm the program librarian at Hennepin County Library, and my guest today is Dr. Peter Miller. Dr. Miller is the founder of the Hilton Head Health Institute and the author of several books of Hilton Head metabolism diets. And the most current book that he has written, and the one that we'd like to talk about today, is the Hilton Head Over 35 diet. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Glad to have you. Peter, I thought calories were calories. Why do we over 35s need a special diet?
Well, as we all know, a lot of things happen as you get over 35. Gravity takes control and everything starts to drop a little bit downward. But basically the body inside changes, the cells change. For example, the cells change in such a way that the thyroid hormone that's secreted in the body to fuel metabolism, the cells don't utilize that hormone nearly as well as they used to as we get older. And so the aging process really takes its toll on the body's natural fat-burning processes. Also, the cells can't utilize or transport the nutrition that you get nearly as well. And so while we were able to get away with poor nutrition early in life, as years go on, it just doesn't work that way anymore. And probably the worst thing that happens from the metabolic standpoint is, as you age, muscle tissue deteriorates, and you need a lot of muscle tissue to fuel the metabolism. For example, just sitting here, the more muscle we would have, the more calories we would be burning just by sitting. So as we age, and you lose between the ages of for example, 35 and 70, you lose about 50% of the muscle tissue in your body. That's why it's important to do something about that.
Is that tied to being less active during those ages, 35 to 70?
That's part of it. That's part of it. People do become less active, but even if you stayed active, there'd still be that tendency of the body to lose muscle tissue. Your body cannot regenerate new tissue nearly as well as it did when you were younger. So, I mean, it's not a bleak picture totally. We all know that we're all going to age, but you can slow that process down.
But you can't counteract it entirely by a lot of exercise.
Exercise can help. It can help a tremendous amount. And it doesn't have to be just strenuous, very sweaty type exercise. It can be just normal, everyday exercise like walking.
So basically, we're kind of talking about a two-pronged thing here, diet, as in healthy diet plus exercise.
Right. Your body needs the right kind of fuel. It needs high-test fuel for that older engine. I give an analogy in the book that says, for example, if you were born in 1949, it's like that your body was a 1949 Chevrolet when you were born, and now if you're 35 or 45 or whatever, you have a 35 or 45-year-old engine. You keep that automobile engine in your body your whole life, and it's usually about time for a tune-up by the time you're 35 or 45. Sometimes a little too late for some people.
So the trend of the aging metabolism can be reversed to a certain extent, at least.
Yes, it can, and there are reasons for it. If we can understand those reasons, we can reverse that process somewhat, yes.
Your diet insists on extra calories over the weekend. Isn't that a problem for those of us who tend to do less over the weekend?
Not really, because the reason you need those extra calories on the weekend is when you go on a low-calorie diet, what happens is a survival mechanism is triggered off in your body. Your body thinks you're starving to death, so it slows its engines down. It conserves energy. Your body tries to save your life. And that happens on any diet. But the way to get the metabolism stirred up again is to actually give you more calories on the weekend. So every weekend, even though you might be less active, although actually, some people are more physically active on the weekends. That's the time they play tennis or whatever. They're weekend athletes. But if you're exercising throughout the week, it really doesn't matter. So more calories on the weekend to get those engines burning a little bit more. And you know, that it works out fine in terms of the metabolism. Nobody should go on any diet where you keep the same low level of calories all the time. You always have to be going up and down with those calories. I've even had people who've been on a plateau on a diet where they're not losing weight. The first tendency they would have is to lower calories, to eat less. What I actually have them do is eat a little more, eat 200 or 300 calories more. They're off the plateau in about a day or two. I mean, it goes against the grain. It goes against what your common sense would tell you, but it works, and you can't argue with that.
Sounds like a very attractive feature.
Yes, yes, and you know, everybody likes to eat a little more on weekends anyway.
Yes. You mention in your book 4 factors that tend to age your metabolism. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Okay, certainly. I went over those a little bit to begin with. It's basically those cellular changes in the body. The body can't use the nutrients as well. It can't use the thyroid hormone as well. It's not using the, you know, anything really. Everything is slowing down in such a way that the normal processes that used to work just simply aren't working anymore. And also, if you're getting less activity, you're not getting something called exercise-induced thermogenesis, long term, but basically what it is that whenever you exercise, there's a spin-off effect. So 2 or 3 hours after you finish exercising, your body's still burning calories. So as you become less active, you're not only losing that burn-off during the physical activity, during the exercise, but you're losing that extra burn-off, and that can account for quite a few calories a year that you're not burning up.
Okay. Are North Americans more obsessed with diets and losing weight, do you think, than other cultures?
Yes, I definitely think so. I think that we're looking for a certain body image that probably doesn't exist. And so my theory, my idea is if people are satisfied with the way they look, I want them to get to be a healthy weight. So you have to get the weight down, because weight can cause problems as you get older in terms of your health. But if you're within a healthy weight range, whether you're 5 pounds or so, one way or the other, really doesn't matter. That's up to you. But it is true, we're more obsessed with it. And actually, though, we have more of a problem with it. The statistics show that as we age, we get fatter. In fact, if you look at all the people in this country who are in their 50s, almost 70% of those people are overweight. Almost everybody. And it's amazing because it can be prevented. Now, if you look at other countries in the world, European countries in particular, you don't get those same numbers. Not that many people are overweight, primarily, I think, because those people stay more physically active as they get older. Walking, for example, is just something that people do in other countries as a normal kind of thing, and biking. Then they don't consider it as, quote, exercise. Like, oh, I have to go bike or walk. They just do it naturally. They do it as a regular routine of life, whereas we have to plan it and schedule it and talk about it and complain about it. They just do it as something that's just part of life, recreation.
It's built in as their lifestyle more.
Certainly, yes.
I've heard that the Chinese people tend to get thinner as they're older, so that's...
Right, sure. They probably stay active, and they certainly eat better than we do. They eat healthier than we do.
We are a youth culture, and does this obviously must contribute to people as they get older trying to maintain a youthful look?
I think so, and obviously some people can overdo that, but I think that there's something to that. I mean, we can feel younger and look younger. You know, somebody who's 50 can't necessarily look and feel like a 20-year-old, but if they're 50, they can feel, you know, definitely a few years younger and more vital and more energy. And so we want to do the best with what we have. We don't. It's not necessarily an appearance question, but it's how you feel. You know, if you feel young, that's what it's all about, really.
Or at least you can be at your optimum fitness for whatever age you are.
Sure. If you're 95, you can be the most fit 95-year-old in the country.
You talked about the prevalence of obesity in the United States, which is higher than other countries. Let's talk a little bit about the set point theory.
Okay, certainly. The set point theory says that your body It's like a thermostat that it's somewhere along the line, and based on your heredity and your eating patterns and exercise, that there is a biological weight that your body likes, and your body will gravitate toward that weight regardless of what happens. So let's say the chart says that your ideal weight should be, let's say 120 pounds, but your biological or set point weight is 140 pounds, 20 pounds higher. Well, when you lose weight and go down to 120, your body's going to want to come up to that 140. It wants to keep coming to that 140. Even though it's not a healthy weight, it's the weight that your body was programmed for. And so it's not that you're 50 or 60 pounds overweight. You're always going to be about that same amount overweight. Now, as you age, though, that set point can creep up. And so instead of 140, it can be 142, 145, etc. Now, we can offset the set point. We can change that, just as we can change the metabolism through the right kind of exercise and eating pattern. And there's a lot of evidence that says we can reprogram the biology of the body. And that's important for people to realize that they can do something about it.
Does this set point creep up because, is this related to the metabolism that changes?
That's correct. The metabolism slows down. We lose muscle tissue, and that's all related to set point, and then set point creeps up even higher. So that somebody who is 10 pounds overweight when they were 20, when they're 40 may find that they're 30 pounds overweight. In fact, the average person between the ages of 35 and 55 or 60 gains 15 to 25 pounds. I mean, that's what we have to look forward to, but it can be prevented.
To fighting against, so to speak.
Certainly.
Yes. You mentioned 5 essential rules of the Hilton Head diet, sort of an easy way to remember the whole philosophy of the diet. Would you like to talk about those?
Certainly.
I was going to ask you which is the most important, but maybe you feel they're all important.
Well, they are all important, but I could probably put them in order of priority. Actually, there are some nutrition rules and exercise rules. And I would probably put the exercise rules even a little bit higher than the nutrition rules. Although the one nutrition rule that's very important is for people to eat several times a day. Most people, when they diet, think they should not eat. They should starve themselves. And that's the worst thing you can do for your metabolism. So what we want to do is have people eat 3 regular meals a day plus 1 or 2 snacks. 1 snack meal, what I call metabo meal, during the week, and then 2 on the weekends. That fuels your body's engine. So when you eat a meal, again, this process of thermogenesis takes control. It's like throwing a log on a fire and it sparks up. That's what happens inside your body. Sparks your engines up. So the idea about skipping meals to lose weight is totally false. People need to eat on a regular basis, about every 4 hours or so. And so it's like taking pills. It's like saying, if it's like me saying you need to take 4 to 5 pills a day, and that's what you need. And if your doctor gave you 4 or 5 pills to take a day for survival, you wouldn't say, well, I'm going to skip the one first thing in the morning and I don't want to take this one or that one. You'd take those pills. And in fact, that's how people need to view this. It's more of a disease that we're trying to deal with, of metabolism, as opposed to just weight control. The second main factor has to do with, as we talked about before, eating more on weekends. You have to keep shifting your calories, so you're eating less during the week, more on weekends, so you can fight that survival mechanism of the body. So we want to make sure that gets in. And then also you eat a lot of, what I call high-test fuel for the body. And that's basically a lot of grain-based foods like breads and cereals, starches, potatoes, pastas, and also fruits and vegetables. But the right combination of those carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And we've been experimenting with that over the years, and there's a certain combination of those with the preponderance of complex carbohydrates. That's what fuels your body. That's the high-test fuel for your body. And then finally, exercise. The last 2 rules have to do with exercise. Walking is the main exercise. The reason for that is people over 35 often injure themselves when they get into real stressful aerobics or running, and just starting at the age of 35 and trying to undo all those years of inactivity all in a short period of time. So I have people walk 2 times during the day. First in the morning, and they walk after meals. Now that's another thing that most people are a little bit surprised at, because we've all been told you shouldn't walk, you shouldn't exercise after meals. You know, none of our mothers
Shouldn't swim,
none
yes.
of our mothers will let us in the water for a couple hours after lunch. But it is important from the metabolic standpoint to walk after meals. And if it's moderate walking after a moderate-sized meal, it's not going to hurt you. In fact, it's going to really stoke up your body's furnace. So you eat breakfast, go for a walk, and then after one other meal during the day, you go for a shorter walk, just a 20-minute walk. So it's no more than an hour a day that people get those walks in. And then 3 times a week, we need to recondition the muscles in the body because muscles are deteriorating. We want to get those muscles back because of the metabolism. We also want to firm the muscles just to give us a firmer, younger-looking body because as we age, our bodies get flabbier and saggier, and we want to fight that tendency. Mm-hmm. So 3 times a week, there are some very simple hand weight exercises, what used to be called dumbbells. Now we don't call them dumbbells anymore, I guess, because we want to change that negative connotation. But it's simple hand weight exercises that people can go through no more than 20 or 30 minutes 3 times a week, and that can tone all the muscles in the body.
Actually, when you mention negative connotation, diet has a negative connotation for many people, and yet diet is that fuel that we want to burn along with exercising to burn it. So it really should have a positive.
Well, it does, but I think people see dieting as deprivation,
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be. You know, when I tell people I want you to be eating every so many hours, they see that as a lot of food, and there's not much deprivation there. Even these snack meals can be something very simple like fruit or raw vegetables or those types of things, and they can be very satisfying for people. But if they can't see dieting in short terms, they have to see it over a period of time. These rules I'm talking about are things that people should really get into the habit of living by over a period of time. So it's not, people will say to me, well, how long does your diet last? And I'll say, well, as long as you're over 35, which hopefully will be a long time, that's how long it lasts.
I think it is difficult for people to think about diets as a way, a lifestyle, a change in their lifestyle that will last forever.
Well, that's true. When they hear, again, it's that feeling, oh, I don't want to be deprived, I don't want to have to work hard. And I think we're all basically kind of lazy and we have to push ourselves. But what people don't realize, once you get into the habit of walking or eating right or making those choices, it's easy. The longer you do it, the easier it gets. It's almost like brushing your teeth. I give an example of asking a woman who'd been in my program at Hilton and then this was 10 years later, we were doing some follow-ups. She had lost her weight and kept her weight off all those years. And people would say, well, why do you get up every morning and eat breakfast and go for a walk? And her answer was simply, because that's what I do every day. It wasn't because I'm trying to lose weight or keep my weight down or get healthy. Those were the actual reasons, but it had become so habitual, it was just, that's what I do. It's like, I brush my teeth every day, I go for a walk every day. It's just so ingrained in her. It was such a habit, she didn't even have to have a reason anymore.
Is alcohol forbidden on this particular diet?
Yes, it is, until you reach maintenance. When you reach maintenance, then you can get back into moderate drinking. But the trouble with alcohol is it has extra calories, it's empty calories, and it also is basically a sugar. And what we find is when people even have a little bit of alcohol, it triggers their desire for sugar, and then they want more sweets. And so it's better to do without it during the period of dieting.
That makes sense. I notice in your recipes that egg dishes are made out of egg whites only. Is that for cholesterol, to avoid the yolks?
Yes, we want to lower cholesterol in the diet. There's only red meat about once a week and take the yolks out of eggs. Some people think that's the most ghastly thing they ever heard of. For example, an egg white omelet. If you've never seen one or made one, it sounds a little odd at first. But after you see it and eat it, you'll find that it's very tasty. And the egg white only has about 15 calories per egg. And a whole egg can be as high as 75 calories or so. And so take that yolk out, and you're really saving a lot of calories, and especially the cholesterol, because we can't just diet to lose weight. We have to diet also to be healthy.
So when you make your French toast, just use the white.
That's right.
Diet books are enormously popular this time of year. Those of us who work in community libraries really see that. Is that because people don't diet successfully, don't really change their lifestyle, think of a diet as a short term?
Well, I think that's right. Somebody told me once there are as many as 1,600 diet books out there, you know, old ones and new ones. And it confuses the public a lot. They don't know, they hear one theory from one person, another theory from somebody else. Basically, what I'm trying to get across is just good, sensible nutrition, sensible exercise, and it can't be short term. As you say, we don't want these fad diets. We want something that will last. And it's not simply a matter of weight loss. You know, people say, well, I saw this celebrity on television and she lost 60 pounds over a period of time, and isn't that great? Well, the question is that weight going to stay off? Was that weight lost in a healthy way? How much muscle versus fat did that person lose on that diet? Mm-hmm. And you have to look at it from that standpoint. I could lock somebody away in a closet for 2 weeks and I'll guarantee that they'll lose weight. That's not the point. The point is, are you losing it the right way? Are you keeping it off? So if somebody says, I have been successful on a diet, I will say to them, come back in a year and let me see what you look like. At my institute, we evaluate success only after somebody has been gone for a year or more. So a year and up to 13 years, that's when we look at people. And especially those that have kept the weight off for 5, 6, 10 years. Those are what we call our super successes. Those are the people that really are successful. And that's where we look for the secrets of success among those people.
And the secret of success is maintaining all the aspects of the diet?
Sticking to the rules, keeping going. I talk about some motivational secrets of success, and it's basically what motivates people in the long run is they look for more significant reasons for dieting and losing weight, as opposed to saying, well, the reason I'm dieting is in 2 months I have to go to my sister's wedding and I look terrible and I can't fit into anything and I have to look nice. That's a reason. It's not a significant enough reason. It should be more in terms of, I want to change my life around, I want to get healthy, I want to feel better. Not so much, I really find I can't motivate people by saying you're going to live longer if you diet and take care of yourself. But I can motivate them if I say to them and show them after a few days on the over 35 diet, they will feel better, they'll feel more vital, they'll feel younger. If they can start to feel that way, they can get on with their lives. So the question I have people ask also is, what will this weight loss enable me to do? The beginning of the whole process is once you lose the weight, then what will that enable me to do with my life, with my mind, with my body that I couldn't do before? That's the beginning, that's not the end. So the diet doesn't end when you lose the weight. That is the first day of the rest of your life, so to speak.
Do you have along those lines some case histories you could share with us of before and after kinds of people, people who really have changed their lives and had some interesting long-term goals?
Certainly. We've had people over the years who have lost anywhere from 20 pounds on up. There was one gentleman, for example, 10 years ago. Over a period of time, it took him about a year and a half actually, he lost 150 pounds. He had been overweight just about all of his life. And now for the last 10 years, he has been at, now he's about 180 pounds. He's a big man, so he can handle that much weight. And he is just feeling great. It totally changed his life. It totally changed not only his life, but his marriage and his job and everything else. And in fact, he has walked every day for that 10 years. He claims to have missed one time. He didn't walk one time. But he is so adamant about that, about how exercise has helped him along with the nutrition. And if you talk to him, you'll find it's not difficult. He's not a fitness fanatic. He's not any kind of an oddball that spends all his life with nutrition and exercise. He has fitted into his life, and so it's easier for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about the working man or woman or couple? Is it difficult to keep some of these groceries in your house? How do they cope with this diet?
Well, the meals that I talk about and the recipes are relatively easy. This is not gourmet food or any special kind of diet where you're eating odd combinations of food. These are everyday foods. For example, for breakfast you'd have cereal and fruit, something very simple that people could have quickly. For lunch it's either a salad or a sandwich or maybe a pasta and vegetable dish. For lunch as a snack you'd have a fruit, for example, an orange, banana, apple, something like that. And for dinner, it's something simple like chicken or fish and vegetables and rice or potato, or a pasta dish. And then at night, even on the weekends, you'd have another snack. I mean, it seems like constant eating, but it all works out. Now, with a working couple, they'll often say, well, we don't have time to prepare a lot of meals and all that. Very little preparation here. These are very simple kinds of things. Now, they may need to help one another in terms of exercise times or whatever, but it can be worked out. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes a person may not be able to get that walk first thing in the morning. Well, okay, if that doesn't work out, then you have an alternative time later, maybe during lunchtime or even later. Or if the weather is bad or if it's dark, you can always get on an exercycle or put on some music and dance around the house or whatever. It's just moving the body around more.
What about those of us who can't even cope with a simple meal? Can this diet be modified with the kind of frozen entrees that we find in the supermarket now?
Well, to some extent, there are those low-calorie frozen foods. The problem I have with those, if somebody had them on a regular basis, and I know I've had some single people who've come to me for help who eat those meals all the time, every day during the week. The trouble with that is that while they're low in calories and often good nutritionally, they're very high in sodium, and I'm concerned about that from a blood pressure standpoint. I mean, some of those have as many as 2,000 milligrams of sodium, as many as you need for the whole day just in one of those meals. And so occasionally that's fine, but if you did that on a regular basis, you wouldn't be on a very healthy diet.
Do you have any advice for the kinds of people who must eat a meal a day, say at a restaurant or a cafeteria?
I'd say at a restaurant or a cafeteria, you can usually get the kinds of foods I'm talking about. You just have to be careful of foods that are in heavy sauces. You may get a little more salt on foods like that, but you want to look for the simple dishes. You want to avoid casseroles. You want to avoid something you really can't tell how many calories. Salad bars are good, although there are salad bars and there are salad bars. I mean, you can actually get a lot of calories. There are, in a dipper full of blue cheese dressing, there's about 300 calories. So somebody could absolutely ruin a salad from a dietary standpoint.
I'm sad to hear that.
In one or two dipfuls of those things. But you can usually get, fish or chicken or those types of dishes. And in a pinch at somebody's house or in a restaurant, you can always control your calories through portion control. It's not an all or nothing type of thing. People often say, well, I couldn't get anything in the restaurant, so I ordered a big meal. I mean, you can control portions, eat half the sandwich, eat smaller amounts.
In our short time that we have left, I think I'd like to ask you just to tell us a little bit about Hilton Head Health Institute, about the place, the surroundings.
Certainly. About 13 years ago, I founded the Hilton Head Health Institute, and we're located on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, which, as many of your viewers know, is a delightful place to be, and I happen to have the privilege of living there, which is nice. We get people from all over the country who come there for either 12 or 26-day programs, and we even get people from other countries to come. They're there for fitness and weight control and to lower cholesterol and blood pressure and to go through stress management programs, a total fitness, a total reworking. The environment there is very pleasant and casual and peaceful. We're right near the beach, and we have all the amenities there that people enjoy for kind of a peaceful getting away from it all. We often say that our program is like getting off the merry-go-round of life for a while and rethinking your life and getting your body in shape, but also getting your mind in shape also. It's like a health retreat.
And we have come to the time where we have to get off of our merry-go-round. So I do thank you very much for sharing your time with us. We've enjoyed having
Thank you.
Dr. Peter Miller with the Hilton Health Head Metabolism Diets. Thanks.
Thank you.
presentation of the Hennepin County Library.